Alright everybody, welcome back to the first official part of the Max Payne Speedrun tutorial. Today we're going to be starting with the main game, and we're going to be combing through about the first half of part 1. And we're going to be talking about the certain tricks and the route that goes into it. The key functions that we're going to focus on today is save glitching, the dead man walking glitch, and basic routing throughout the first 5 chapters of the game. So the game starts with about a 2.5 minute cutscene. Luckily, I already have a save here for the prologue, so let's fire this up. And if you haven't already, make sure you check out my first video about basic movement in Max Payne as far as the speedrun is concerned, because we're going to be using a super jump here within the first 15 seconds of the game. Alright.
What the hell?
So as you may recall, we need a two-handed weapon to perform super jumps. Max just so happens to have one in his closet. So here we grab the pump shotgun, and we can super jump up here to trigger this cutscene pretty early. Let's take these guys out. If we're fast enough of getting through that nursery, then we can skip a cutscene of Max grieving over his baby there, and we can advance to the final bedroom. And of course we skip the kill cam. Now this cutscene here that plays of Max kind of grieving over his wife here, as you can see, it's quite long. And that cutscene can actually be accelerated just a little bit.
What the hell?
And the way we do that is, before that cutscene can trigger, we go back and trigger the other cutscene that we skipped. So we'll take care of these 3 guys. Max gives us his audio cue, and then we go ahead and run back into the nursery. And now you can see the cutscenes kind of jump back and forth between each other. And it should be about a little bit earlier that this cutscene actually ends. And with the infamous yelling of Max here, it's a good time to explain the comics in this game and how we can skip them efficiently. By pressing the F1 key, we actually stop the current comic, and by pressing the F1 key a second time, we skip the comic entirely. Now, if you anticipate the comic a little too early and you spam F1 going into a comic, it's possible to get a glitch which is known as the comic jam, which ends up being that the comic kind of stutters or freezes, or the skip button doesn't necessarily work. So the way you get around that is you make sure that you press F1 only when the comic appears. All in all, if you do get the comic jam, it'll cost you about a second or 2. But it's good to know when the comic will appear, as opposed to just spamming the F1 key. So let's go ahead and skip this, and we're going to jump right into Chapter 1, Rosco Street Station. And what you're going to notice with this chapter
My Beretta stirred nervously
is
under
that
my coat, but the train doors had already shut behind me.
you don't want to
And I was in for the
encounter
ride.
every enemy.
Next stop, Rosco Street Station, and Alex.
Instead, we're going to do the bare minimum and make sure we just grab the weapons that we need. So this level can't progress until we find the dead security guard. So we're going to run into the
station
side
was
room
drenched
here.
in gloom. Alex was a ghost, nowhere to be seen. I'd have to look for him. Death was in the air at Rosco Street. I'd have to find Alex fast.
And as I said earlier, we're not going to waste ammo on these guys. You can run right past them. They won't even really shoot you. But we do want to make sure we take out this guy up here. He's got a Desert Eagle, and we kind of want that. And like I said earlier in the movement video, we don't want to let go of that forward progress. We're going to run right towards him and take him out. We're also going to get rid of that guy because he has a pump shotgun. Pump shotgun is pretty good, especially if you're taking out these next two guys. We get a kill cam there that we're going to skip. And when we come back up, all these enemies that we missed are going to be chasing us. And the key point there is to avoid using bullet time. You don't want to slow down too much. Now I should note that this game does have a quick save and quick load feature. And with the quick save and quick load, you can pretty much do so at any point throughout the levels. But there is a glitch that happens where if you save as the game transitions into a cutscene, you can actually move Max throughout the cutscene. To show you how it looks, we're going to take this cutscene here where this security guard, he's going to open a door for us. If we save and load into the cutscene, we can actually move Max throughout the cutscene and get some forward progress as the cutscene plays. So that would look something like this. By the way, you're going to want to spam your quick save key as the cutscene begins, and then you're just going to simply quick load into the cutscene, and it would look something like this. So we can see now we're inside the cutscene, and we can actually kill that guy and move forward within the cutscene. By doing this, we lose our cursor for our aimer. So it makes aiming at these next three guys a little bit more difficult. Now there's something I want to reiterate on that I mentioned in the movement video. And if you remember from the movement video, I said that rolling, we want to mitigate how often we actually do this because it is slower. But if you notice, as I came into this room, that shotgun guy was already going to fire on me as soon as I entered his line of sight. Therefore, it made sense to roll to get myself in a better position to take him out. Alright. Now, the enemies in this game, one thing to note about them is that they're always going to fire first. They're going to fire at a constant fire rate as fast as they can, and they will shoot on sight. They are not going to wait for you, so you have to know who is waiting for you around the corner. So let's go ahead and look at it again, and you can see exactly why I want to roll into the room as opposed to just running into it. So you can see there, as soon as I walked into the room, I took a pretty lethal hit. Whereas, if I roll into the room, I can dodge all of those rounds entirely, and then do what I need to do. So we're not going to spend much time grabbing ammo, painkillers, searching, because coming up we have the dead man walking glitch.
The train lit up like a Christmas tree. Power was back on.
So just as we did before with the security guard and saving into the cutscene, we're going to do the same thing here. When we activate the train, this cutscene begins. And in this cutscene, Max rams into the wall, and he knocks the wall down, and it allows us to get to the end of the level. Yada yada yada.
So much for being subtle.
Well, that's great. However, just like the other cutscene, we can save and move throughout this cutscene. So as we press our action key to trigger the train, we're going to quick save, and we can actually move Max throughout the cutscene. And this produces some very weird results. So now we are in the cutscene, the train is moving forward, and we are actually in control of Max. What's weird here is that you can see Max leave the train, and then he spawns right back again. So we can leave the train, and then Max spawns over here. Now what's interesting about this is that there's actually 2 copies of Max in the game. And what was found is that if you kill the first version of Max, the second version of Max has some very strange properties about him. So let's go ahead and do this again. Except this time we're going to stand in front of the train. And since the train runs Max over, this cutscene will play out as normal.
So much for being...
Well, now if you look, the cutscene's still playing, but we don't actually get control of that second version of Max. And what ends up happening is that this version of Max that we essentially killed in the cutscene is who we have control of. And if you notice, his health is maxed out. We cannot take another bit of damage, otherwise we die. But why is this guy not shooting at me? Well, that's really interesting. The reason for that, say we were to do this cutscene like normal. And when I mean normal, I mean we don't kill Max in the cutscene. We let the cutscene play out.
So much for being subtle.
And we get 2 copies of Max. Well, if we were to play it like normal, these guys are going to shoot at us. They're going to try to stop us. But notice when they kill us, when they are effectively end Max, they stop shooting. There's no more shooting because Max is dead. There's no reason to keep shooting. So by killing Max in this cutscene, the game essentially thinks Max is already dead. There's no reason for the enemies to shoot at him.
So much for being...
As you can see, our health is topped out. We're dead. There's no reason for the enemies to shoot. So even though we can still die from explosions, we can die from fall damage, we can die from any amount of damage, the enemies simply will not shoot us because they think that we are already dead. This is known as the dead man walking glitch, and it is probably the biggest exploit so far in the game, and it's really only effective up until about part 1, chapter 5. And then after that we're going to resume the game as normal because there are faster methods to move about the game. But these guys don't shoot at us, so we can just continue on to the next level. And the dead man walking glitch will carry over into the next level.
One way or the other, I was going to find out.
So from here on, the important part is that we want to move as fast as we can throughout the levels. The enemies won't shoot at us, but we need to get these guys out of our way. Now we're not going to kill this guy here. In a real-time speedrun, you would kill these guys. You would not shoot this guy, because shooting this guy, let's see what happens. We get the kill cam. That's a little bit slow. So we just avoid that last guy altogether. But we want to get these guys out of our way, because the only real opposition the enemy poses for us now is that they try to run towards us and they just block our movement forward, as you can see. Also, we want to kill them because, well, they have ammo, and we want to stockpile ammo as much as we can. So in a real-time speedrun, and we avoid the last guy. Pretty simple. So from here on till chapter 5, we're only going to be killing people that are going to block our path. That shotgun guy likes to block our path a lot. And going upstairs,
What the hell was that?
always go for the super jump. It's the faster way to get upstairs. And we want to take these guys out because they're going to run right in front of us and block our way. So the more guys we can kill without having to stop our forward progress, the better off
Left
we
their
are.
tools on the table. Judging by the detonators, the crooks had bought enough explosives to send Lady Liberty into orbit.
Also, if you leave a good trail of bodies as you come down here, on your way back, you can always pick up the ammo, which you're going to need. And we got the super jump here. Let's place the detonators. Those guys have no threat towards us, so we just leave them. Now the important thing to note is that you probably could navigate around these guys without them getting in your way, and you probably don't have to really kill any of them, but it's a lot of ammo that they're holding, and the more that you can stockpile ammo, the better off you are, because you're going to need it in the later sections of part 1 of the game. So the key thing to remember is eliminate guys that are going to get in your way, pick up their weapons if you can, and always going upstairs, try to super jump.
I could do. He was dead. I could tell by the empty, accusing stare of his eyes.
And we're just going to come out here and run right for the end of the level. I'm going to kill that guy because he's got Berettas. Alright, and so coming towards the end of the level is actually kind of this trigger that runs right along this plane. So you could run up the stairs and trigger the end of the level, or you can go for a super jump here and trigger it a couple seconds early. If you don't get the super jump, just keep running forward. There's no reason to go for it over and over and over, but I want to show you what it looks like. So you can see the trigger is not actually the end of the stairs, it's just a certain height that Max has to reach. So we're going to go ahead and skip that comic and jump into chapter 3. And in this chapter we're going to see a glitch that's known as the double fire shotgun glitch.
My cover had been blown, the door slammed shut behind me, and then I was dodging bullets
Which
like
really isn't that
raindrops.
useful other than this fight against the Finito brothers. So when you have a shotgun, and say I jump onto this couch, if I were to fire, as soon as I touch the ground, I can fire again. So while the regular fire rate of the shotgun is a little bit slower, by shooting on top of the couch and on the floor, I can acquire a much faster fire rate. Just like that. So when you start this fight, you can utilize that to take out the Finito brothers quite easily. And I kind of screwed it up. So you can see I got the double shot there. Saves a minimal amount of time, but it's kind of a neat little trick. These guys are going to try to come in. If you alert them that you're there with the lead pipe, they come in a lot quicker. And we're just going to run past pretty much everybody. The dead man walking glitch really, really breaks the game. Now, I like to shoot these guys coming up because they block the door. And you gotta shoot the lock off. And then the next area won't trigger until you go into room 313, which is
junkies could go off without a warning.
Rico Muerte's room.
Careful.
And we're just gonna trigger the door, come back out. So as I said earlier, with the dead man walking glitch, we're not invincible. It's just that the enemies won't shoot us, but we can still die from environmental kind of instances. So when you shoot this, what I would imagine is like a water heater here, it's going to explode. And if you're in the room when it explodes, Max will die. So typically I come in, shoot, wait for it to do its thing, and then I know it's safe.
The hooker had left her diary on the table.
And then we're just going to run to the end of the level. That guy likes to get in my way. And skip the comic that comes up. And you can kill these guys quickly and get right into this room. Typically when they run through this door, the door closes behind you and locks. But if you're quick, you can break through this door, come right up here, kill this guy, and get the super jump there up the stairs. Much quicker. Grab the bar key, and it's really easy to get stuck on those doors. So movement there is kind of a thing. And right after we skip this cutscene, we're going to shoot Rico Muerte to stutter him. Otherwise, he will run and block that door. And we're going to kill this guy who's going to want to block our movement just like that. Get the super jump up the stairs, always. And shoot this guy just kind of for the fun of it, I guess. You don't really need to kill that guy. And now if you're familiar with this level in a casual playthrough, what you would typically do, well, I'm going to kill these guys because they're annoying me. Oh, Rico Muerte. What you would typically do is you would drop down and a large battle would start and you would have to get the buzzer and go to the front door. But since we know how to super jump, we actually know that the end of the level triggers once you're outside the front of the hotel. So instead of doing that huge gunfight down below, we can actually just super jump over this fence, which you can die from. That was a thing I was going to point out, is that obviously Max, you can still die from fall damage, so super jumping is super dangerous. I'm kind of glad I died there, because now I can show you what this level would look like in a real-time speedrun, which is something like this. So, you know that you're going to take fall damage if you jump over this fence, so you want to land on top of it, and then we could just jump over to the end of the level trigger, and that chapter's over. Alright, so chapter 5, this is the final chapter I'm going to be covering in this section of the tutorial, because after this things get a little bit complicated. So there's certain points I want to review. The dead man walking glitch, what it is, what it does, and the drawbacks. Essentially, if you remember, at Rosco Street, we killed Max inside of a cutscene, which allowed us to gain control of a essentially dead Max that the enemies don't fire at, but it doesn't make us invincible. It's very, very important to note, because we can fall and still die.
The goons inside were
We can
spooked.
still take damage and it will
Came with a
kill
price
us.
tag. More bombs could still be ticking inside.
Also,
the cops would already be on their way.
when the dead man walking
Jack
glitch
Lupino's
is
suite was
active,
on the top floor. At least it used to be before the explosive makeover.
as long as the glitch is active, we cannot quick save, because the game still thinks that we are in a cutscene from when we activated the dead man walking glitch, so we cannot save. So it's very important that we take very good care to not kill Max from explosions or fall damage or anything like that. An interesting note that we're going to see in this chapter is that if an enemy throws a grenade and the grenade hits Max before exploding, Max will still take slight impact damage, since we are at the max amount of threshold of damage that we can take at this moment. If we get hit by any thrown object, Max will die. So there's an instance in this level where an enemy does throw a grenade, so we have to make very good caution to avoid it. Also, there are quite a few explosions in this level, so we're going to want to avoid those as well. And we're just going to run right over
The
here.
headlines were a depressing read.
And we can roll past these guys. Those guys like to block our way. We can just roll past them. And what we need to do is shoot these barrels to open this door over here.
The whole building was rigged with explosives.
Now, you could shoot any one of these tanks, and it's going to explode, fire this tank, open the door, and then we're going to get a secondary explosion over here. So you could really come over here kind of blind, fire, back off, and wait. The optimal way to do it is to only shoot this one tank, because that one tank is the one that opens the door for us without causing all these unnecessary explosions that we have to avoid. Now, let's see if I can hit the top of it. Just like that. Otherwise, if we come around the corner and we start blasting away and we hit this tank, we would have to wait for that secondary explosion. Now we want to make very good care to take care of this guy, because he's holding an engram, and the engrams are like gold in part 1. You want as much engram ammo as you can get. We grab the staircase key, make sure none of these guys block our way. We're gonna have one guy try to cut us off. Let's get rid of him. And here comes that grenade. And the way you avoid it is stick to the left side of the stairs, and you won't get hit by that grenade there. We can kill this guy to get more engram ammo, and we can just simply roll over that gap there. The quickest way to do it is to actually, as you come up the stairs, jump up on the railings. That's a little bit faster. As I said in my first video, rolling is a form of shoot dodge, a form of bullet time, and it is slower. So if you are feeling confident enough, you can just jump across the railings. And already we're at the end of the level, and we're just going to jump right out the window here to trigger the next level. So part 1, chapter 6 is where things start getting very, very difficult, and you start to feel the full weight of just what this game is as far as difficulty goes. We're going to be talking about that in the next video. In the next video, we're going to be talking about start of the level save glitching, and we're going to be talking about some pretty intense super jumps that we're going to be doing, and just some mid-level save glitching and moving Max throughout cutscenes, and you're going to see some crazy skips coming up. The end of part 1 might be the hardest part of this game, honestly. As long as you do well throughout the chapters expressed in this video to get a good stockpile of ammo, and you pick up those Ingrams, you pick up the grenades when you can, and you learn what enemies are carrying what weapons and what ammo you need to pick up, then you should be fine. But if you neglect killing a lot of enemies because of the dead man walking glitch and you just want to run past everybody, you're going to have a hard time in these later levels of part 1. You're going to find yourself very short supplied. So it would behoove you to take care of the enemies that are carrying such essential weapons for this late part of part 1. Alright guys, I'll see you next video, and we're going to be tackling part 1, chapter 6, all the way up to part 2, prologue, and there's tons of explanation for me to be doing. I hope you guys are practicing, and I'll see you next time.